Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Dibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Today, we are counting down my top 10 defensive tackles in the 2024 NFL Draft. Guys, if you love the draft and you want more draft content, please consider subscribing. Let's go! It's time to talk about one of the NFL Draft's best kept secrets, which is Johnny Newton. The quick twitch of Newton is the most appealing aspect of his game. He uses his lower half extraordinarily well to set up his pass rush plans. Forcing a multitude of oversets and sinking blockers' feet into mud, Newton is a slippery pass rusher who possesses the explosiveness to exploit the gaps he creates. Newton also displays a decent array of moves to deploy with his hands. He is not the longest guy in the world, limiting his leverage, but Newton is not afraid to get into the chest of the man across from him and drive him back into the quarterback. He has a nasty swim move and a dynamic hand swipe to use to win as a pass rusher. For a defensive tackle who is listed at 295 pounds, Newton possesses a great deal of flexibility to win along the outside shoulder of the man across from him and play on the outside track. Newton is not only explosive in twitching his lower half, but he's built like a rock in his upper half as well. This allows Newton to get blockers out of his chest regardless of his arm length to keep his frame clean. Newton can play inside and out and has a pathway to be an immediate 3-down player at the next level. As I mentioned, Newton's size does bring some schematic limitations. He's probably best utilized as a 3-tech or 4-eye alongside a nose tackle who's able to encumber blockers, isolating Newton with one-on-one opportunities. But Newton's ability to shade outside to 5-tech and 7-tech gives him added utility in hybrid fronts. To summarize, Newton is a versatile two-phase disruptor whose penchant for production should only persist and get better in the NFL. In the right scheme, I think this guy has Pro Bowl and All-Pro upside written all over him. Right now, I've got a top 15 grade on Johnny Newton. Let's watch some highlights. It's time to talk about one of the most physical and strongest prospects in the entire 2024 draft. In 2023, Byron Murphy was named the Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. Additionally, he was a first-team All-Big 12 selection. According to PFF, Murphy generated 45 pressures and 6 sacks across 273 pass rush snaps in 2023. Among 219 FBS defensive tackles to play at least 400 snaps last season, Murphy had the second best overall PFF grade, the 20th best run defensive grade, and the best pass rushing grade. Let's talk about strengths. Byron Murphy has elite explosiveness off the line and an extremely high motor that he uses to cause havoc in opposing backfields. He has good agility and uses it to get into gaps and across guards' faces quickly. He is likely going to be a 3-technique defensive tackle in the pros where he can focus on rushing the passer. That doesn't mean he is bad against the run, far from it. His natural leverage and balance makes him able to take on double teams better than you think someone his size could. And then we get to areas to improve upon. The biggest concern with Byron Murphy is that he doesn't have the ideal height for an NFL defensive tackle and may lack arm length. He has limited snap volume across every season and lacks high-level bend in the hips. He needs to do a better job at shedding blocks and expand his pass rushing repertoire at the next level. In summary, Byron Murphy's ceiling would be as an impact pass rushing 3 technique, with his floor being a situational pass rusher who comes off the field on rundowns. I think he has the strength to be a 3-down player, but his anchor will be tested often at the next level. Right now, I've got a day 2 grade on Byron Murphy, and I expect him to test extremely well during the upcoming draft process. Let's watch some highlights. Leonard Taylor brings intriguing explosiveness at his size. When Taylor wins in pass rush or run defense, it's generally with his explosive first step or a violent rip move. Taylor has snaps where he looks like a man amongst boys, throwing guards and centers aside. Taylor is agile enough to be lined up as a 4 or 5 technique and has been used head up on the center as well. Leonard Taylor has an elite frame for a defensive tackle. His lower half is a solid anchor against the run. He is lean enough to shoot gaps, but still has enough upper body strength to shed blockers. He's got long arms that help him gain leverage against opposing blockers. His frame and athleticism also shows some pass rush potential as he develops at the next level. When it comes to weaknesses, it's got to be his consistency and lack of a pass rush. Taylor has wildly inconsistent week-to-week and even snap-to-snap performances while at Miami. There are sequences where he looks like the most talented player on the field, and then he can look like he doesn't even want to be on the field. Oftentimes, he seems to be motivated by the level of competition and effectiveness. If Taylor isn't having lots of success with his first move, he's often washed out of the play. And then when you get to getting after the quarterback, Taylor has shown not enough consistency to consider him an impact pass rusher at this time. His size suggests he's a gap shooter. However, some of his lack of production in 2023 has been related to him being lined up more as a nose guard. Overall, there's a lot to like about Leonard Taylor. His frame, explosiveness, and violent playstyle are exciting for any defensive line. However, he is a player whose landing spot will absolutely matter. If he goes to a team with a strong defensive culture that relies on a frequent pass rush platoon, he could easily be an impact player. Taylor is a potential boom or bust player in the 2024 draft, and I think a team is going to love the upside enough to view him as a late first to early second round pick. Let's watch some highlights. first up, Kris Jenkins is an elite run defender. His ability to play with good leverage is without a doubt his calling card at the next level. Being the son of a former NFL All-Pro, it's no surprise that Kris Jenkins has some of the most enthralling tools in the class. He's an incredibly explosive athlete off the snap, both laterally and vertically, and has suffocating strength at the point of attack. Going further, with his burst, twitch, and mass, Jenkins can levy impressive amounts of power into his attacks, and as he trends up with his hand usage and energy efficiency, it's exciting to think about what the potential is when it comes to this guy as a prospect. Kris Jenkins routinely commands double teams. He offers well-established functional strength, and I think he should be an effective B-gap defender at the NFL level from day one. When it comes to negatives, I know he was part of Bruce Feldman's freak list, but the athleticism sometimes doesn't really flash on tape. He'll have a few reps where his movement skills drops your jaw, but I always find myself thinking his game is more rooted in his plus strength and power rather than explosiveness. I think his ceiling will be determined by how much more disruptive he can prove himself to be against the pass, as he is a reliable gap control defender who can stack the point of attack and stuff up the run. For NFL game managers, Jenkins will be an investment. He's not the most consistent pass rushing threat, but he's a high-level run defender with the strength, leverage, and anchoring ability to swallow blocks and limit displacement. And those same traits give him a pass rushing upside. Overall, Kris Jenkins projects as a good run defender who has a high ceiling as a pass rusher, but he isn't a complete player at this time. He still has a good bit to go when it comes to having an elite pass rush moveset, but this is a potential top 50 player when it comes to talent who also possesses a very high floor. I expect this guy to be a day 2 selection in the 2024 draft. Let's watch some highlights. Tandre Sweat is a man among boys when you watch tape. He's a strong run defender who has the size and strength to be a good 2-gapping nose tackle in the NFL. His impressive upper body strength helps him gain control of the block and lock out offensive linemen. This guy is almost impossible to move with on one-on-one blocks, and he's pretty good at creating stalemates against double teams and combo blocks. Sweat's sheer strength and elite bull rush make him a nightmare for offensive linemen. His ability to overpower opponents at the line of scrimmage disrupts plays and collapses pockets, a required skill for a dominant one technique in the NFL. He's also got plus athleticism for his size. Despite tipping the scales at 360 pounds, Sweat displays surprising athleticism. He is very quick and has above average change of direction ability, defying the stereotypes associated with players of this size. And then you get to his elite run stopping ability. Sweat's strength and quickness make him an elite run defender. His understanding of gap control and the physicality to shed blocks makes him one of the best players in the country at stopping interior run plays. Negative-wise, his conditioning needs work and he needs to improve his handwork. On one end, this is a guy who can look like the best player on the football field at times. At other times, he's completely absent, so he needs to improve his consistency at the next level. He also lacks top-end speed. While his 5.05 second 40-yard dash time is impressive, for a player of his size, Sweat can sometimes lack the speed required to chase down ball carriers. And then lastly, it's got to be weight management. Weighing in at 360 pounds, Sweat's size raises concerns even for an NFL defensive tackle. Maintaining an optimal weight will be crucial for his longevity and effectiveness, and excessive weight could impact his speed and endurance over the course of a football game. With all that being said, if you are a team looking for a space-eating nose tackle who can plug up gaps against the run, this guy checks off a lot of boxes. Tremendous short area quickness, physical, mean, violent, capable of collapsing the pocket, will hunt down screenplays and make tackles. At other times, just simply content on taking up space and hanging out. This guy is an early day 2 guy for me. Let's watch some highlights. Penetration is the name of the game along the interior of the defensive line, and Ruke Orhorhoro sports a dynamic first step that allows him to crash gaps and create chaos for opposing offenses. Clemson's defenses have a long, rich history of producing talented prospects within the trenches, and Ruke is a player who could be adding to that recent success in a transition to the NFL. Let's talk about strengths. Ruke sports an amazing frame. He's dense, he's powerful, and he's athletic all at the same time. Orhorhoro is a ball of muscle, and all of his best qualities are aided by his athleticism. Orhorhoro anchors the middle of the line, playing with great leverage and the ability to get right into the chests of opponents and drive them into the backfield. His ability to clog rushing lanes and power his way into the backfield will translate quickly at the next level from day one. And then we get to weaknesses. It's really all about that upside. For the athletic prowess that he is and how much potential he has, the big breakout season in terms of production never really happened at Clemson. Ruke clearly needs a significant amount of time and refinement with NFL coaches before his ultimate upside and ceiling is unlocked. There is work to be done in his development with the technical part of the game, but having great physical traits at your disposal, Orhorhoro can be a contributor from day one with the ability to be a solid player at the next level. In summary, the upside of a penetration player like this on the interior is simply hard to ignore. But after a late start to the game, this is now a player that needs reps to grow at the NFL level. Any team looking to invest in Ruke Orhorhoro should do so with the understanding that playing is paramount for him to strive for his potential and unbelievable upside. Let's watch some highlights. Michael Hall Jr. is a versatile defender who played up and down the defensive line for Ohio State. He's lined up as wide as defensive end and as far inside as a one technique or shaded on the center as a nose tackle. That was a result of his blend of strength and athletic ability for his size. Leverage is baked into play thanks to his build. He's a condensed dude who has a low center of gravity as a result, offering him the ability to sit on his hips and anchor when he wants to. You pair that with a pretty effective first step, and when he's committed to shooting through gaps, linemen are forced to punch down on him at times and allow him to press through. I think the primary concern I have for Michael Hall Jr. is being a jack of all trades but master of none. He falls a little in between archetypes as a penetration player with elite quickness or a super stout gap control player. His consistency also needs to improve. Schematically, Michael Hall Jr. is tough to place. He's a bit of a tweener body type and isn't big enough to play as a 3 technique, but he isn't a good enough athlete to line up outside of the tackle. Hall has flashed the ability to win as either a penetration defender or a lock, peek, and shed point of attack defender. His consistency in executing either role will need to improve, but you see the ability to consider him a developmental starter down the road. I'm not necessarily sure he's a 3-down player at this point, but the good news is he's young, so he has plenty of time to develop. In summary, all signs point to Michael Hall Jr. being a day 2 selection. The physical tools present the most appeal. At 6'2", 295 pounds, he's an extremely dense and well-leveraged lineman with great proportional length, as well as torrid explosiveness and agility off the snap. Combine Hall's explosiveness, leverage, length, and torque, and you get a defender with some serious upside if all the pieces of the puzzle eventually come together. Let's watch some highlights. Braden Fiske has the potential to become a good 3 technique defensive tackle in the NFL, especially as a pass rusher, primarily due to his blend of strength and athleticism. Let's talk about strengths. Fiske is incredibly quick. He bursts out of the block and gains ground really quick, both vertically and laterally. When he rushes the passer, Fiske explodes forward, often preventing the offensive lineman from fully engaging. Despite his shortish arms, Fiske stacks blockers really well. He gets underneath the blocker's pads and can successfully 2-gap into the run and pass games. He's also comfortable shedding blocks and always trying to get upfield. And then we get to weaknesses. Measurables are going to be the biggest question mark for Braden Fiske, especially with the upcoming NFL Scouting Combine. He doesn't have ideal arm length, which becomes an issue when taking on double teams. Fiske struggles with a pass rush plan at times and relies too much on his speed and quickness. Power is just not his game. Fiske wins with speed and rarely shows any sort of power prowess. Lastly, he'll be a 24-year-old rookie, which already hinders his draft stock, and he's a bit of a project, so teams could view him as a lower ceiling prospect. In summary, Braden Fiske brings a combination of quickness, hand technique, and awareness to the defensive line. While he excels as a pass rusher and shows promise in run defense, improvements in leverage and power against double teams will be crucial for his success at the next level. His high motor and physical attributes make him an intriguing prospect for the 2024 NFL Draft. Right now, I've got a back end of day 2 and early day 3 grade on Braden Fiske. Let's watch some highlights. McKinley Jackson has been flying under the radar so far during the draft process. He missed significant time in 2022 thanks to an elbow injury, and nose tackles don't tend to generate a ton of highlight reel plays. And while Jackson made a strong impression at the Senior Bowl, he wasn't extended an invitation to the NFL Scouting Combine. Let's talk about strengths. McKinley Jackson is a stoutly built, powerful, and surprisingly athletic defensive tackle. He has evident thickness and power in his upper and lower body and does a great job of using his natural leverage to maximize his play strength. His explosive and powerful first step, combined with his excellent strength, allows him to drive blockers into the backfield or collapse pockets. And then we get to weaknesses. Jackson is a disruptive player, but struggles to consistently capitalize on that disruptiveness. He lacks the agility to make plays on more athletic quarterbacks or runners behind the line of scrimmage. He also lacks the length to consistently make plays on ball carriers in the backfield. He can disengage from blockers, but doesn't have great range to play off of blocks when ball carriers have room to maneuver. In summary, McKinley Jackson projects as a rotational defensive tackle with scheme versatility. He's a natural fit as a nose tackle, although he should be able to play in even or odd fronts. He still has room for development and can get both more efficient with his hands and add to his pass rush repertoire. He doesn't have good length, but looks like a big time sleeper that should be available sometime late day 2 or early day 3. Let's watch some highlights. Gabe Hall is a lengthy, athletic defensive tackle prospect who is climbing up the draft boards. He was expected to have a big year for the Bears in 2023, but it just never fully came to fruition. Baylor's defense as a whole was exploitable, which made it hard for Gabe Hall to apply pressure off the edge or make plays in the run game. Hall finished the year with 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hurries, and 1 forced fumble. However, he's drawing big-time buzz after dominating during Senior Bowl week. Let's talk about strengths. Gabe Hall is long, well-built, and knows how to use it. His reach, wingspan, and hand power give him a great foundation to stun blockers and create knockback at the line of scrimmage. He's got a large tackle radius as well, meaning ball carriers who enter into his space aren't easy to come out unscathed because he has the ability to reach and wrap. And then we get to weaknesses. The passing down skill set appears modest at best. Hall lacks explosiveness in his first step off the ball in obvious passing situations. As a result, teams will need to see growth before expecting him to be a 3-down defender. Quite simply, Gabe Hall requires a good amount of refinement at the next level. He doesn't always look like he has a clear plan, and he's a bit too reliant on getting penetration with his first step. As it currently stands, Gabe Hall has a lot to answer about his potential at the next level during the upcoming NFL Scouting Combine. He's an incredibly strong athlete, but is uber reliant upon that strength. There's a lot to like about Hall, given his massive frame, but until he can channel his strength through his frame, he remains a moldable player waiting to be molded. Hall has great tools at his disposal, both physically and athletically. That said, until he unlocks that toolbox, the potential in his game will also remain locked away. Right now, I've got an early day 3 grade on Gabe Hall. Let's watch some highlights. All right, guys, those are my top 10 defensive tackles in the draft. Do you agree or disagree with my rankings? Did I miss anybody out? Let me know down in that comment section below. For everything draft, give me a follow on X at Mr. Crackpot. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay awesome.